again, there's different ways. So let's say, for example, somebody has been completely negligent, just maybe praying the odd prayer, random prayer. That's difficult to actually account for. In that situation, that whole period, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, he should repeat all those prayers again. And obviously, if he misses, if he makes up more than is required, then they will go down as nafil anyway. If, for example, it's a specific prayer that has been, for example, somebody's been lazy with Fajr, he's praying the rest of them, but just been lazy with Fajr, and he's pretty regular with the other prayers, then make up the Fajr of that number of days, weeks, months, or years. So it's an estimate in that sense, and it's better to basically to cover your bases rather than, don't make a reserved estimate. Make your estimate, it's better to read more than to leave something missing.
So if it is that they read more, that will go down as nafil.
I guess the point is trying to calculate when you became valid. Would you use an average or?
It's actually, I think, for most people, they will have a very close idea of when they become valid. It would be quite rare for somebody not to have any idea of when they become valid. But if that's the case, then, or if somebody's become valid late, for example, beyond the usual age, then that limit, the maximum limit, is 15 years of age. But usually, in the means of menstruation or ejaculation are the two means of establishing bulugh. And so it's something that most people would have some account of. So I do also have with me a book which is called Nurul Idar, and that's a beginner's text it's a basic manual for Hanafi Fiqh, and with this we can look at this issue of tartib and how it's mentioned here before we move on. Right, so to maintain sequential order between a missed prayer and the current one is necessary. That's the understood view of the Hanafi method. This tartib is no longer wajib in 3 situations. Number 1, shortage of time, like I said before. If you only have a small window and you need to pray your qada and your your current prayer and you can only pray one of them, give priority to the current one. The tartib is no longer becomes wajib. Also, when your missed prayers reach the number of 6 in total. So tartib is only wajib for those people who have missed up to 5 prayers in their whole life. When it goes to 6, then tartib is not wajib, sequence is not wajib. You pray them as and when you can and try and recover them as quickly as possible. And thirdly, if you forget, so somebody forgets and prays his current prayer and then later remembers that he had a missed prayer to make up as well, in that situation the tartib is no longer wajib. And like I said, inshallah, if necessary, we can come back to this if we need more explanation or more detail, and we'll look at this. But I want to complete this chapter, if we can, before we finish now. So, moving on. If somebody has missed many prayers, Imam Sawarji is saying as well, qadaha murattaba, he should repeat those prayers or not repeat them, rather make them up in sequence. And that's based on a narration of Sayyidina Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala. He says, Kunna ma'a Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we were with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in front of our enemies, so this is from time of battle. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because of the situation, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam missed Zohar, Asr and Maghrib until it was middle of the night. So it was Isha time then. So Zohar, Asr, Maghrib all were missed, and Isha until the middle of the night. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood up. فَبَدَأَ بِالظُّهْرِ, he started with Zohar, prayed that, then Asr, then Maghrib, then Isha. So each one of them in the correct order. They were made up in the correct order. And that's narrated by Imam Bayhaqi in his Sunnah. As I mentioned to you before, yes?
It's just the obligatory units, just the 5 units.
For Qadha, yes, it's just the obligatory unit. وَيَسْقُطُ التَّرْتِيبِ بِالنِّسْيَانِ. And as I mentioned to you just now, if you forget that you need to pray in sequence, that you missed a prayer, and you remember only after you prayed the current one, then the tartib is not wajib in that situation. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Man nasiya salatan aw nama anha. As you remember from the previous hadith that I've mentioned to you, whoever forgets a prayer or sleeps through it, then the kafara, the penalty, is simply to make it up when you remember. So what is timing for qada? When should you pray it? Whenever you remember, as soon as you remember. In the same way, as you mentioned before, if the time is short, then tartib is also missed. It's not wajib. And also if you have more than 5 prayers remaining, then tartib is no longer wajib as well. The missed prayers should be made up with jamaat. You should do azan, you should do iqama as well. It's based on narration of Sayyidina Abu Qatada radiyallahu ta'ala. He said, we were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when some people said, so he says, we were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we were traveling, and it was a night fell. Some people began to stand towards the end of the night pray. And the Prophet ﷺ, or some people, they requested for the Prophet ﷺ to rest in a later part of the night, to stop for a rest. And the Prophet ﷺ refused, he declined, saying that I fear that we may be overcome with sleep and miss our prayer. So Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I will stay awake. And I will ensure that everybody wakes up. I will stay awake and wake everybody up. And so everybody then rested, and Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, he rested leaning on his luggage, and he started to wait for Fajr. And as it happened, he also fell asleep. And so the Fajr prayer was missed, and when the sun rose, the Prophet ﷺ was the first one to wake up, and he said to the Prophet ﷺ said to Sayyidina Bilal, said, Ya Bilal, Aina ma qult? Where is your statement? Where is what you said? I will stay awake. What happened to I will stay awake? And so he apologized and excused himself, saying that I didn't realize and I was overtaken by sleep. And this has never happened before. So the Prophet ﷺ said that when you sleep, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes your soul and He returns it according to His will. So that's hadith which is narrated by Imam Nasa'i in his Sunan. But it mentions also in there that Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ told him, he said, Qum ya Bilal, stand Bilal and give azan for the prayer. And so Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, he stood up, he did wuzu, he gave azan, and then he gave iqama, and everybody prayed qaza. So even with qaza, azan and iqama. All the 5 daily prayers, if any of them are missed, they should be made up. Only fard, units and witr. So sunnah and nafal are not made up when praying qaza. This is narrated by Sayyidina Abu Sayyid Khudri radiallahu anhu, who says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever sleeps through the witr prayer. In other words, he prayed his isha at night, went to sleep thinking that I'll wake up for tahajjud and read my witr then, and he didn't wake up. He's missed his witr, or he's forgotten. And whenever he remembers, he should pray them. Sayyidina Zayd bin, that's narrated by Imam Tirmidhi in his Sunan. Another hadith that he narrates is from Sayyidina Zayd bin Aslam radiallahu ta'ala. He says the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever sleeps through his witr, he should pray them in the morning. Also, the sunnahs of Fajr should be made up as well, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made up those sunnahs when he missed his Fajr prayer as well. Sayyidina Abu Maryam narrates that we were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so we travelled through the night, and while it was closing into the morning, when it was close to Fajr time, the Prophet ﷺ got down and he slept, the people slept, and when we woke up, the sun had already risen. And the Prophet ﷺ instructed the muazzin to say the azan, then he prayed 2 units before Fajr, then he instructed for iqama, and then he led Fajr prayer. So that's telling you that the Prophet ﷺ prayed the 2 units of Fajr before actually praying the qada. Imam Muhammad rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that you should make up the sunnah even if you missed just the sunnah. So for example, you made the jamaat so late that you didn't have time to read your sunnah before. Because you missed the sunnah, you should pray them after the fard. That's Imam Muhammad rahimahullah ta'ala's view. And he bases this on a narration of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala, in which he says, Man lam yusalli rak'atay al-fajr, whoever does not pray the 2 units, the 2 sunnah units of Fajr, فَلْيُصَلِّهِمَا بَعْدَ مَا تَطْلُعِ الشَّمْسِ, he should pray them after بعد ما تطلع الشمس, after the sun has risen. Right? So if you missed the sunnahs, pray them after sunrise. And also the 4 sunnahs of Zuhr, if they are missed beforehand, make them up after. Based on narration of Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha. So in fact, the example that I gave was not the correct example. It wasn't missing with Jamaat, missing your sunnahs because of Jamaat. It's missing because shortage of time. He's prayed Fajr, the 2 Fard, and sunrise, and he's not had time to pray his sunnahs of Fajr. According to Imam Muhammad, he should make them up after sunrise, based on that hadith. And the 4 sunnahs of Zuhr should be made up if they are missed. For example, even with Jamaat with them, that you don't have time to pray, the Jamaat has begun, and pray those sunnahs afterwards. And this based on narration of Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha saying that if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam missed the 4 units, did not pray the 4 units before Zuhr, he would pray them after. And this is not the case for Asr because those sunnahs are not emphatic, they are not mu'akkad. That completes that section on Qadha. Any questions? Yes?
Sorry, I'm just confused about the last bit. Is that just sunnahs with the Jumu'ah, not for people who read at home?
Well, if you're reading at home, the likelihood would be, if there is time, then you're going to read in sequence, aren't you? You're going to read your sunnahs first, then your fards, and so on.
No, I mean for Qadha.
For Qadha,
Yeah. Do you only do your fards?
yeah, for Qadha, whether you're reading with Jamaat or you're reading alone, Qadha is only of Fard and Witr. So you don't read Sunnah or Nafal for Qadha. Unless you're doing Qadha of Fajr before Zawal, before midday. Then you pray 2 Sunnah and 2 Fard.
Can I also
Yeah.
ask about the question I asked previously? You
Yeah.
know how some of the elders read their qazas with each namaz they read. Is that fine?
Yes, that's, if someone chooses to do it that way, that's absolutely fine. I'm assuming that's making up missed prayers, where they have more than 5 prayers or a large number of prayers. It can be done like that. Or some people read a full day's worth of qaza with Isha prayer. Some people may choose to read more than that, a number of days together in one day to try and make it up more quickly. That's up to that.
Okay. Is it just Fajr and Zuhr and Isha that you can read them with, not Asr and Maghrib? Or can you read it with them as well?
Qadha can be after Asr. You shouldn't be praying while the sun is rising, while it's setting, and at midday you're not to pray anything at all. From between Fajr and sunrise, that prohibition is for Nafal. And between Asr and Maghrib, that prohibition is for Nafal as well. Qadha can be prayed at that time. Anything else? Okay, so